ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो वरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरि ओम् Amritabindu Upanishad. This is usually attributed to either Atharva Veda or Krishna Yajurveda. So some places the references are made to Atharva Veda. So which is why we chanted Bhadram Karnebhi. That is Atharva Veda Shanti Patha, Shanti Mantra. And Krishna Yajurveda, the Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Upanaktu. So, எப்பவுமே whenever there is confusion, ரெண்டுத்தையுமே பண்ணிடணும் அவ்வளோதான். சண்டையே வேண்டாம். And this is what I usually, if possible, do both or do one and then be satisfied with it. Don't let the mind hanker saying, அச்சிச்சோ ரெண்டாவது பண்ணலையே அப்படின்னு. Yeah, so that's always that's the mantra in these matters. Because all of this is good anyways. Whether do your Shanti mantra of Krishna Yajurveda or Atharva Veda, the idea is Shanti mantra. The idea is to invoke Shanti, 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 to remove the tapatraya, Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika, and invoke all auspiciousness into our lives, into the moment, into the activity that we are going to do. We are invoking auspiciousness. So Shanti mantra is all good. If we can, in fact, we should have the practice. There are like 5 or 6 Shanti mantras which are the popular ones, including Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. And then there's another one on
Sanno Mitra
Channo Mitra Shamvarunaha. Correct. So there are these bunch of Shanti mantras which we can regularly also chant, all these Shanti mantras. Yeah. So Amritabindu Upanishad. So this has been in my mind for a while. It's a short Upanishad. It belongs to a classification called Yoga Upanishad. Yoga Upanishad. There are about 20 Yoga Upanishads. Of the 108 Upanishads in the Muktiko Upanishad. Muktiko Upanishad is has a canonical description of all the 108 Upanishads. Muktiko Upanishad. And that is why we say there are 108 Upanishads, because there is this one Muktiko Upanishad which lists all the other Upanishads and lists itself also. Adila Vandu, there is this Amrita Upanishad, and there are 20 Upanishads in that called as Yoga Upanishad, and out of which this Amritabindu Upanishad is one of them. And a lot of Yoga Upanishad has several techniques, breathing techniques, pranayama, dhyana, methods, etc. are discussed in some of those Upanishads. For example, there is a Tejo Bindu Upanishad, there is a Dhyana Bindu Upanishad, there is a Nada Bindu Upanishad. Yeah, so these Upanishads are they have a little bit of some practices, or rather some methods of doing meditation, methods of doing pranayama, etc. is mentioned in that. Where should you concentrate? How should the incoming breath and outgoing breath should be, and all. So which is why it is classified as a Yoga Upanishad. Although it is not yoga in the Hatha Yoga sense. It is not the Hatha Yoga. But because there are methods prescribed, it is classified that way. Because if you look at all the other Upanishads, it does not prescribe methods. Right? Even, for example, we saw the Keno Upanishad, the last one that we completed. There are no real methods. There are only prakriyas for the mind to do Atma Vichara, to do introspection, how to introspect, and what is the line of thinking that we need to develop to cut through the continuous drama of the mind. How do you bring your attention to a place and cut through it and see through it and see the reality? Right? Because the mind is right now creating a veil. Whether we like it or not, the mind is creating the reality for you. It is creating your reality. If you don't like something, it is your mind that is created that reality for you. In existence, there is nothing like liking or disliking. Correct? Think about it. In existence, is there anything like as like or dislike? In existence, everything is avladhan. Is. There is no it should have been, it could have been, it must have been, must, should, could, would, அதெல்லாம் கிடையவே கிடையாது in existence. This is the way it is, this is the way it is. Flood வந்ததுன்னா flood வந்தது. Washed away villages, washed away villages. Beautiful sunlight came, beautiful sunlight came. Beautiful நம்ம சொல்றோம். Sunlight came, sunlight came. Crops grew. Then termites came, the locusts came, they ate away the plants. The fields were flourishing, the villagers, everybody got good food to eat. Then suddenly the locusts came, drought came, famine came, the people in the village died. Cities where we are sitting, suddenly a missile falls, explosion, people die. Now these are things that are happening. There are human created events, there are natural events. But our mind is the one that interprets all of this continuously. There are stories that the minds create. Mind creates stories over stories over stories. I told you about this person, about this movie. You must watch it in YouTube. Man from Earth. I mentioned about this before. It's a movie, it's worth watching. It's just a 1 hour 30 minutes movie. A very, very profound movie. The whole thing is a fictional character who has lived over 14,000 years. From the time of caveman, this man has continued to live. Something biological happens within him that he doesn't die. There is some form of rejuvenation of cells that happen that he doesn't die. But over time, he has seen people die in front of his eyes. And so what happens is, wherever he is, after 10 years, he moves into another place, completely a different place, and starts a new identity, starts a new living. Because when there are people who notice that this man is not aged, and people start noticing he came in as 30, 35, now he's 45, but he still looks like how he was when he came. Then when people start wondering that how come he is able to maintain himself so young, before doubt starts setting into minds of people, he completely disengages from that identity, goes completely elsewhere on the planet, and starts a new living in a new identity. Now imagine if his mind were to carry the impressions of 14,000 years. நமக்கு ஒரு 14 years, 15, 20 years, 30 years நம்மளால முடியல. We are not able to bear the burden of 50 years or 40, even whatever age we are at whatever age you are, you feel the burden of the memories that you carry, the burdens of the impressions that you carry. You're burdened. அப்படியாச்சு, this happened, that happened. Why like this? Why like that? What did I do? What did I do wrong to be like this, to get this, to get completely burdened, all the time burdened. So imagine this man, 14,000 years. He couldn't be able to live. He would have been a miserable creature if he was carrying the burdens of the past. Just imagine. Today, most of us, as we age, we want to die soon. The other day I was telling my wife, what if you were to live for 150 years? And she's telling, Ayyo, vendame. No, why that happens is because there is a fear that as we age, there is suffering, and then you don't want to suffer. But if you think about it, if we build ourselves in a particular way, the more mental suffering is what causes us suffering during old age. Physical suffering is there. Physical suffering would have been there. The ability to tolerate would have gone down significantly. But the mental suffering of loneliness, of despair, of anxiety, of feeling left out, all of these develop as we grow older. And we fear all that. And that is why we want to die, because we think that death is going to give us some kind of relief. Of course, death is a relief because when things are broken beyond repair, it is important for it to be dropped, right? It's important for it to be dropped so that you can recreate. So if you look at the mind creates the burdens, the mind carries the burdens, and it doesn't know how to drop it. It doesn't know how to let it go. When we say let go, these terms have become so much abused in these days. The significant abuse of these words because people use it very, very frivolously, very freely. When we say let go, what it means is we have to let go of the burdens of the past that we are carrying on a daily basis. But how do you know what is the burden? You have to recognize it. We have a choice right now. I have a choice to recognize whether I want to suffer or not suffer. And if you look at this, it's very interesting. We will tell other people, we will give advice to other people very beautifully. You would notice you'll always find yourself in a very, very comfortable position when it comes to somebody who's suffering, somebody else who's suffering. You'll be able to give them the best of advice, but we'll not be able to apply it to ourselves. We'll say, "எதுக்கு அதை பத்தி யோசிக்கிற? Why do you have to think? Are they thinking about you? Are this thing, that thing?" இப்படி எல்லாம் சொல்லி we will be able to advise very beautifully. But when it comes to our own selves, it becomes very difficult to keep ourselves in that place. Because we have trained ourselves to carry the burden. We have trained ourselves so much so, and certain times it becomes a point of no return. Right? The burden becomes, we keep carrying. It's like the Hercules of the story, the Greek god Hercules. If you know the story, uh, correct, Atlas. Then Hercules comes. So there's this Greek god or a Greek character called Atlas who was given the responsibility of carrying the earth on his shoulder. So he was holding the earth. And he was waiting that somebody is going to come and relieve me or something like that, because he felt that if he leaves it, earth will go. So he would carry that, and then Hercules came by, and then I think the story goes that Hercules kind of escaped, but otherwise, or the other way is probably Atlas told, I want to take a break, so he gave it to Hercules. And then he said, can you hold it for a few minutes for me? Then Hercules held the earth. And then Atlas said, Apadi, now I'm free, I will go. And then Hercules, that's when he realized he was tricked. And then Hercules told something else to Atlas. He said, hey, listen, no, I have to go and get something. Only then then I'll come back and hold it. Then he gave it back to Atlas and ran away. So this is how we also think that I am carrying this big burden. This life has become a burden. It's a combination of the body and the mind. And then at some point, it becomes the mind which then disturbs the body. And then the body starts disturbing the mind. So it's a loop, it's a cyclical process that we have unconsciously let it play out because we have not known how to take care of our minds. We have always tried effort in taking care of a body, but not so much the mind, right? If we make our mind so sharp, so powerful, so ekagra, the word, there is a word in Sanskritam called ekagrata, chitta ekagrata. Bring your mind to a single place and you know you can hold it there. If you would have trained ourselves like that, then the body issues and problems or whatever that occur will slowly start dissolving, or the effect of it will slowly dissolve. The pain of it will slowly dissolve. It amplifies because there is some issue in the body, then there is the mind is already messed up, so the pain amplifies. So mind plays a very important role in terms of in the way we perceive the world. So going back to this 14,000 years old guy, he doesn't say this, but when he drops his identity in one place after being there for 10 years and moves on, he would have dropped everything. He should have dropped everything, right? Of course, memories you can't drop. You can't choose to drop memories. Things would have happened, but the impact of it you have to drop. You can't say, oh, when I was young, I fell off a cycle. Oh, that memory is there. How do I clear that memory? No, you don't have to clear that memory. You have to clear the impact of it. You have to clear blaming somebody in your head. Oh, because my cousin came and pushed me, I fell down. Otherwise, I would have not. This story that we build in our head, right? Of course, it must have been reality, but then you build, and then whenever you look at the cousin, the only thing you remember is him pushing you off the bicycle. So what has happened now? That reality that he pushed you, you fell, that has now become a story that you're reliving within you. And you're not dropping it. There is a very beautiful anecdote in the Buddhist teachings, Zen teachings. There are two, I think it's a guru and a sishya. They're walking into the forest. They're going across from one village to the other. And then they suddenly spot a woman trying to cross a stream. She's finding it difficult to cross a stream. She's trying to put her leg in, and the currents are flowing, and she's worried she may fall into it. So she's hesitating. And these two people are walking by, and the guru notices that lady. Naturally, he goes, picks her up, crosses her over to the other side of the stream, leaves her there, bows down, and then walks away. After a couple of hours, the Sishya has been watching this and he is disturbed continuously. How is it that my guru, Akashta Brahmachari, can touch a woman? We have all been taught. He has taught us not to touch a woman, not to look at them, not to get distracted and fall from your sadhana, all that. How is he carrying her? So after 2 hours, he brings up the courage to ask the guru, says, Guru, how could you do this? The guru says that I dropped her 2 hours ago. You are still carrying her. Right? You would have seen this YouTube video. Very nice. The very common Zen story. So these are ways in which we have to recalibrate our minds. We have to. Who is going to come and look into your mind and tell, oh, you are carrying this, you have to let this go, you have to carry. You have to go to a psychiatrist. What will a psychiatrist do? He'll give you sleeping medicines. Go sleep. Right? All that he'll do is go sleep. Because the more you sleep, the less you have the mind operating on these things. What will the psychiatrist do? He'll sedate you. Jiddu Krishnamurti, there is one interview of his, the last Brockwood Park interview. Watch it. This is the last interview before he went to Chennai. And then there is a last talk he gave in Chennai, and then he came back 1990 something, and then he passed away in Brockwood Park, UK. So there is a talk of his. You move towards the end of the talk. The interviewer asks, and you should see Jiddu Krishnamurti, so much of clarity of that you just see his face and the tejas nu solluvaalla. Amazing. The interviewer will ask, how long will you carry on doing this? And he was 90, by the way, at that time. His age was 90. So the interviewer asks him, how long will you carry on doing this? He very simply responds saying, I've told my friends whenever I go gaga, which means whenever I talk nonsense, stop me. If you notice, so he's told few close friends that whenever you notice that I speak I'm going random tangential stuff, remind me, I will stop. I'll know that, okay, I've gone off the rocker. But till then, I'll continue. And then he says, there is a lot of energy left in this. In this means this form that he is, I think there is a lot of energy. And then he says one beautiful thing. He says, because I do not carry the burden of the past. So when you don't carry the burden of the past and you keep yourself reasonably healthy, there is so much energy to continue to do. And he is not trying to get anywhere also. Notice this. Jiddu Krishnamurti, after 60 years of these talks, if somebody asks him to talk for another 30 years, he'll continue to do it. Because he is not trying to think that what have I achieved? Of course, in certain moments of solitude, he would have expressed that, I've been talking for so many years and people don't seem to understand. People are still going behind, gurus and this thing and that thing and religion and all of that. People have still not. So he may have that angst because he's seeing 60 years, he's been talking to people around the world and people still don't get it. He's feeling that. And that's all right. Because the place where he is, people to get to that, it will take them time. But there's a certain sense of so much of that connect. Not many people get it, which is a fine thing. But he doesn't lose interest. The next talk he has to go, he will go. For another 30 years, he would have continued also. Right? How does that happen? Is because he's not trying to achieve something. Although he may have had those moments of in solitude, those moments saying that ayo, disappointment irundirkalam, but it is not what is defining what he is doing. He's not giving up. He's not saying what is the point. He's not calculating, saying that the last 60 years I traveled to so many places and so many people I've talked, get the list of number of people who have attended. Each of these big, large camps, there are 3,000 people who would come and sit. He doesn't take a census of that and says that, okay, now so many people have done, what is the point? He's not doing that. There is no anticipation of outcome. There is no definition of achievement. He is not heavily investing in the outcome. Yes, although when he said in 1927, he said that I want to set man free. This is going to be my mission. 1927, when he dropped the order of the star and he became an independent man, as a teacher he came out, he said, my only goal and mission is to set man free. Set man free from his conditionings. That is all. But it was not set man means it doesn't mean that set this man, that woman, this child, that. No. He has got no achievement measure. He is not measuring over time to say, okay, how many people have I set free? I started off in 1927. Okay, 30 years, 1957. How many has been set free? He didn't do things like that. This is where we get caught up. Even if you're a teacher in school, if you have taught for 30 years, we will think, right? எத்தனை பசங்க என்னோட வந்து இது பண்ணிட்டு மாஸ்டர்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டு PhD பண்ணிட்டு are they in high position in school in the industry? Even as a teacher, a lot of us have this. We want to reflect back to see the effect that I have had on society. We want to reflect back and see. But he is not, because you are not defined by that. This is very important. What creates this definition? The mind. The mind creates this definition. The mind sets you goals. The mind does measurement. Mind is measurement. Mind is essentially measurement. And that is the greatest Maya. That is why in Lalita Sahasranamam, she is called Shri Matre Namaha. Matra means measurement also. Matra also means mother. Matra also means measurement. See, in music you say, right? How many matras? One matra, two matra. Matra is a space and time. It's a measurement. So she is called Lalita Tripura Sundari, is the greatest Mayakari. she is the she is the one who has created this whole mesh network, like the matrix. Matra means measurement, and mind is measurement, which means it's continuously measuring, it is continuously evaluating. When I said we have to recalibrate our mind to see where we are, what we are, that recalibration should be in the direction of dropping, not in the direction of accumulating. That recalibrate, have I dropped? Have I dropped? Have I dropped? Have I dropped? This is the direction of recalibration. What do we recalibrate? நான் இவ்வளோ செஞ்சு எதுவும் நடக்கல, நான் அவ்வளோ பண்ணேன் இதாக இருக்கா, நான் this person I did to so much, லைஃப்ல I have done so much to so many people. What is there? Measurement, 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 and suffering. It is a trap. Lalita Tripura Sundari herself is a trap, which is why she is the most difficult to surpass. She doesn't want to see you suffer, but she wants to see how much you recognize that you are suffering because of your own self and wanting to come out. That vairagya, how much of that vairagya are we carrying, saying, this is the only thing that I want, mother. Enna choppu kuda, you give me small toys to play with, you give me all of these things. I don't want any of this. So now from that we come to the first verse of Amritabindu Upanishad. The reason of this preface is to understand that it's our mind that is holding us prey, as holding us in sway. It is our mind. Doesn't mean that you should not go and get external help. We should. That is also the mind telling us that yes, I need external help. But have that audacity, have that conviction, have that clarity that I need external. Now, when will that clarity also come? See, very interesting. It's the mind that has many compartments if you look at it. The mind can look at the mind. The mind, when you do meditation, what are you doing? A part of the mind is meditating, but another part is observing that it's meditating. When you think that you are feeling restless, what is feeling restless? The mind. But who is saying that I am feeling restless? It's the mind again. And if you say, I am not able to come out of the suffering of the mind, who is saying this? It is the mind telling the mind about the mind. The mind is telling the mind about the mind. Where are there so many components here? If you look at it, it just feels, are we schizophrenic? Each one is schizophrenic in some form. Because there are so many components of the mind. One mind says that, listen, you are thinking stupid. One mind is saying, one mind is feeling so drawn, or it's feeling drawn to suffering, it is feeling drawn to depression, dejection. The other mind is saying, listen, I'm not able to come out of it. We ourselves go and tell the doctor, doctor, I am feeling depressed and I am not able to come out of depression. Now, observe this, the absurdity of the whole thing, but that's our reality. It seems so absurd. I am clear enough to know that I am going into depression. I am clear enough. I have to go to the doctor and tell doctor I am going into depression. Then who is this who's clear to look at that and tell that I am depressed? Who is having this clear conversation with the doctor? So நம்ம டிப்ரெஷன்ல போனாலும் ஒழுங்கா போறதில்ல. அங்கேயும் அரகுறை தான். We don't go fully into depression also. Go fully into depression, go into a mental asylum. You're okay because you're living a completely alternative reality. But that also we don't do. அதுலயும் அரகுறை. That also, we are partly depressed, partly I know I am depressed and I know I have to come out of depression and then I have to work through this depression. All of this is there. See, I sometimes feel kids should be taught about the mind at a very young age. No children are taught about this. It's the greatest tool we have and it's the greatest misery that it causes also. The same tool using which John Nash, those who have watched this movie, The Beautiful Mind, Russell Crowe has acted in it as John Nash. John Nash is a mathematician. He is a Nobel laureate. He got a Nobel Prize for some of his equations. And there's a movie called The Beautiful Mind. It was acted out by Russell Crowe. He acts as John Nash, a very beautiful soul. Okay. Such a sharp mind. From very young, he has a very sharp mind and he goes into he becomes becomes a scientist and he's bringing a lot of interesting discoveries, etc. But towards the end becomes schizophrenic. He doesn't even realize that he has become that because he doesn't recognize the other part of him which is acting out differently. So the whole movie, it's a very, very beautiful movie. It is just to show that how the mind can be, it can go completely off the rocker. It can spin off into different dimensions without you as a conscious person not knowing. It becomes critically important to examine and train children's minds. We don't invest in that at all. We only train the intellect. Nanna kattiya sharp panni vechurrom. And you take that katti into the world and chuck, 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 chuck. That's all you do. Mind is a tool that we need to know how to use it when we want to and ask it to shut up when we don't want it. We should develop the ability to shut it off. Keep quiet. ஒரு switch off button இருக்கு அப்படிங்கிறது ட்ரெயின் பண்ணணும். Right? நமக்கு இப்போ இருக்கிற வயர் எல்லாம் வந்து துரு பிடிச்சு போயிடுது. All rusted wires and all, you want to put a switch, it's difficult. You don't know what that switch is going to connect to, which copper wire, which is all twisted and all that. From young, we have to develop this. Otherwise, when we're older, the hope is not lost, but then we still have to make effort. But that effort comes through sankalpa. Sankalpa, satsanga, and sadhana. These are three things which are very, very important. Your sankalpa, that I want to do it, I want to be this way, I don't want to be born again, appadina, it should not be a passing comment just because I'm suffering now. It should be a very, 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 very deep-rooted, strong conviction, sankalpa. Then sadhana and satsanga, the right kind of people. Should move around the right, we should look out. Should look out for the right kind of environment for our development. Satsanga. Yeah. So, Amritabindu Upanishad, where does it fall? It talks about the mind. Why is this preface required? So that we know that what the text that we are getting into is essentially going to talk about the mind. And which is why the first verse itself starts with the mind. And Sri Vidya was chanting it in the mind. He said, mute பண்ணிட்டு மனசுலயே chant பண்ணா. Manohi dvividham proktam. This is the first word. The first word is manas, manaha. So before that, Amrita Bindu Upanishad. Why is it called Amrita Bindu? Some name they had to give. Bindu Upanishad means it's a drop. It's a drop. Bindu can be seen in two ways. It's a drop, which means it's an essence of that which we are talking about. It's the essence. The second thing is Bindu is also the center. Those who know the Sri Chakra, the center dot is called as the Bindu. So that's called the Bindu, and Bindu also means a drop of water. Jala Bindu, a drop of water is. And then Bindu can also be just a drop, it could also be the essence. There are these essential oils, those who are familiar with this. The peppermint, the marla sila essential oils. When you're having a lot of headache, all you take is a drop and you apply it. Right? On your temples, you apply, and a little while it settles down. How much did you take? You took a drop. You're not taking like Navratan tel, you're putting a lot of oil and applying. No, it is just a drop. But how come that drop is so effective? Because it's the essence of that plant or that herb. It is the essence. It's squeezed, concentrated essence. One drop pour. So like that. And this is the drop of what? Bindu Upanishad. It's a drop of Amrita, nectar, immortality. Amrita. That which confers deathlessness is Amrita. Means what? That which confers upon you the understanding that you are Amrita. That you are something that does not die when the body dies. This Upanishad confers upon you that understanding. And it is the essence of all Upanishads. Bindu. So, Amrita Bindu Upanishad. An Upanishad that confers upon you the essence of the Upanishads, which is what? That you are Amritaha. Amritasya putraha. You are the divine immortal child. Or you are the child of the immortality itself. Amritasya putraha. So, Amrita Bindu Upanishad, it has about 23, I think about 20, 23, yeah, 22, 20, 22 verses. And what I have done is I have tried to group them by the theme of the verse. If you go in the sequence, you will notice that some of these verses are a little uh, placed. So first few verses talks about the mind, and suddenly there'll be a verse later it talks about the mind. Then the next verse talks about Brahman, and then somewhere later there is present talking about Brahman, and so on and so forth. So there is a little bit of a little bit from our perspective, when you try to approach it, when you try to understand it and contemplate upon it, it'll seem as though it's a little jumbled up here and there. So which is why what I've done is I've tried to bring the verses together in a theme. Okay, so the first theme is Mano Nigraha, which means the yama of the mind, the regulation of the mind, bringing the mind to a place where you are the master and mind is the slave. Mano Nigraha. So there are a few verses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 together, and then there is a 10th verse which I brought in here. Then the second theme is on Brahman. The verses 6, 8, 9 belong to that. And then there are a few 3 verses which talks about Shabda, the Shabda Upasana, which means the Upasana through Omkara, etc. So verse 7, 16 and 17. And then there is an Atma Darshana Prakriya. There is a Prakriya, there is a method of how to do contemplation or how to introspect. There is a Prakriya that is mentioned in about 4 or 5 verses, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. So that I've retained it as it is. It's there in that sequence. And then there are 3 verses that talks about the unseen principle that is there in everything. Adrishta Karanam. The Karanam that is Adrishta. It cannot be experienced as a cause, but it is the cause. Right? So that Adrishta Karanam, I've brought it together 21, 20, 21, 22. And then 18 and 19 is about what is Vedanta, is essentially the ending of that which is known. Vedasya antaha Vedantaha. So I've brought those 2 verses together as 18 and 19. Yeah. So that is the Amritabindu Upanishad. We'll just start with the first verse. We have a little 5-10 minutes, and we'll look at what it says. And again, it is the same context of the manas. Mano hi dvividham proktam shuddham cha ashuddham eva cha. Ashuddham kama sankalpam, shuddham kama vivarjitam. This is one thing that I found about this Upanishad. The verses are not complex. It is not too convoluted. Even like Kena Upanishad or Ishavyasya Upanishad, very confusing. It's fairly straightforward. The verses are straightforward. The words, the shabdas are pretty straightforward. So if you look at it, it says, Manohi dvividham proktam. The mind is of 2 kinds. Shuddha mind, pure mind, Ashuddha mind. Ashuddham. And then it describes Shuddham and Ashuddham. Ashuddham means it is Kama Sankalpam. It is invested in Kama, in desire. And Shuddham mind is Kama Vivarjitam. It is free from desire. Okay. Now, important thing to notice is this is always something that we try to keep going around, right? We think being spiritual means you should not have any desire. That is not true. But to be very clear, you are in this physical body, you have a physical mind, is also physical. Understand? Mind is subtler than the body. It doesn't mean it's not physical. It's also physical in nature, it's also matter. So this body, this mind, this complex has its own conditionings, has its own conditions, and it will have its own desires. It has its own ways of working. See, even while you're sleeping, your body is doing some bunch of things. Even when you're not conscious, your body is doing a bunch of things. It doesn't mean that when you're sleeping, suddenly everything is shut down. Digestion continues, assimilation continues, blood circulation continues, blood is flowing, the breath continues, incoming and outgoing breath, all of this continues. It doesn't stop. In the same way, the mind also continues. The mind keeps creating dreams and all that. But at some point, it comes to rest and dissolves. But without you consciously doing anything, these things are doing their things, which means you don't have complete control over them. So when you say desires, the body, the mind has its own, right? Devi is also Kameshwari, so that is a limited form. No, Kama Ishwari. So she is the one who is the Lord of Kama. She gets the name Kameshwari because of Kameshwara. Kameshwara is the Lord who has won over Kama. That is what this verse also talks about. Shuddham kama vivarjitam. The one who is free from desires, he is a Kameshwara. And by virtue of being the wife of Kameshwara, she becomes Kameshwari.
Anna, Devi, when we think of Devi, when Prakriti, Purusha Prakriti in Chalartha, we see her as the manifested form um,
Kama.
of, yeah, right?
Correct.
So then,
She is the
in
one
the
who brings
incarnate,
out desire also. She is also the root of desire. She is also the cause of desire. And her aspect, Manmatha or Kamadeva, is an aspect of Devi only. In fact, Manmatha or Kamadeva is the greatest Srividya Upasaka. So he is an aspect of Devi too, which is what I'm coming to. So desire is an important part of creation. Creation cannot happen without desire. Creation is or desire is an integral component of creation. There is no creation without desire. So desire should not be shunned away, but desire has to be won over, which means you should execute desire. Desire should not execute you. Today, what is happening is desire is making you run. The state of a Kameshwara is where he knows when to go and he decides, I have this desire, I have to go and fulfill this desire. He is in charge. And he goes and Kamadeva is in his control. Today we are in the control of Kamadeva. Kamadeva shoots an arrow somewhere and suddenly we run behind it. Right?
isn't the idea of control also an illusion?
It is. But then right now you're suffering the lack of it. See, if you're not suffering the lack of it, then you can say it is illusion. But when you're suffering the lack of control, then it is a real thing for you. We cannot say that it's unreal until you have transcended it. It's like saying in a dream, is a dream true? Yes, in the dream it is true. You cannot say dream is false until you wake up.
Right.
So illusion is from what is the perception or the perspective from which you're looking at it, then illusion makes sense. Not because somebody has told. Textually, somebody would have told, "Oh, this is Maya," but for you, it is real. Till then, you'll have to deal with it in the way you have to deal with it. Now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to bring ourselves to a place where this continues to operate because it is the nature of things. It is the way things are. You're not going to deny it, right? This is the way things are. But am I being impacted by it? Am I being affected by it? So, kama vivarjitam, when he's saying, the Rishi is saying of the Upanishad, it doesn't mean, of course, which is why it's given in a very simple language, right? To say that, oh, Shuddham Kama Vivarjitam means Shuddham, a Shuddha mind is that which is devoid of desires. It's not devoid, it is not governed by desires. A desire may rise, you will choose whether you want to act upon it or not. Right? So, this is so what it says is mind is of two forms. Mind has two forms, the higher and the lower. We all seen this. Mundaka Upanishad talks about it. There is a bird at the top and then there's a bird below. Sorry, Ma, who's this? Yeah. So there is a bird on the top, there's a bird below. The bird at the top is watching. All it is doing is only watching as a witness observer. The bird below is the one that is going from branch to branch, eating one fruit, another fruit. If it's a sweet fruit, it's happy. If it's a sour fruit, it's disappointed. It jumps from one to the other. The time it takes is for the bird below to notice the bird above, to say, hey, there is this higher nature within me. There is this higher dimension within me which I need to now associate myself with, which is what we said. Mind has different aspects. But all of this, see, remember, as we start Amritabindu Upanishad, and I've always been telling this, right? Bring in meditation as a practice into your life. Only then these Upanishads will make sense. Otherwise, it will be somebody's words. If you want these Upanishads to make sense, one has to sit with yourself and observe yourself, observe your mind. You're listening to an Upanyasam, then go into isolation, sit and observe your mind. Take a chant, japa, mantra, dhyana, then it should transcend or it should transform into dhyana. Dhyana, sit with yourself, observe. You don't know what to do, just watch your breath and look at the mind. And tell while you're doing this, nothing, the whole world may turn upside down. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I'm just going to be here for the next few minutes. This you practice. As you practice, you will see that what they are talking about makes sense. The mind has two components, Dvividham Proktam, Shuddham and Ashuddham. The pure mind, which is the mind of clarity that you have today. You have it. You have a mind of clarity. You have a mind which knows what is dharma. Your mind knows what is the right thing for your well-being. Your mind knows. Then there is a mind which is driven by desire, kama vivarjitam. So don't think of it as people with there are two different kinds of people. No. Oh, this person is a pure mind person and this person is a kama mind person. No. This is not what the verse is saying. The verse is saying every person has both of these minds within you. The mind is two kinds. And you have the ability, even today, right now, you are aware of this. Because you make choices all the time. What is your choice driven by? Is the choice driven by the wisdom of the higher mind or the choice driven by the kama desire of the lower mind? This is the decision you have to make. Again, there is a third mind which is watching both of these. Notice this, right? It's a funny situation, but that is what it is. There is a mind in me which says, I know this is the right thing. This is dharma. This is going to lead me to moksha. This is my for my well-being. That there is a mind of a higher dimension. Who is this I? That is a mind. That mind knows I have a dimension of a higher. I have a mind of a higher dimension. I have a mind of a lower dimension which is driven by desires. I am the one who is making the decision between the two. Of course, the buddhi comes into play to make the decision. Right? But then if you look at it, these dimensions exist within us. And all we're saying is, I become aware. I become aware of this condition within me. And like the Upanishad is saying, the next verse the Upanishad will say, we'll pick it up next week, that you are the one who is responsible for both. Whether you're running towards desires and getting beaten up, or you're staying in that position of being wise and not getting drawn by desires. Right? If your life is, if the horses of your life are desires, then you're going to have a messed up life because your desires just go all over. If the horses of your life is your wisdom, your understanding, Guru Kripa. Guru Kripa is also very important. Our wisdom is not sufficient. Our understanding is not enough. Guru Kripa. When will Guru Kripa come? You open up, it will come. It is there. அருள் தானேப்பா இருக்கு ரமணர் சொல்ற மாதிரி நீ நடுவுல வராம இருந்தா சரி அருள் இருக்கு. So that Guru Kripa, we have to let it operate and we have to recognize. Again, we bring in measurement. The problem is, oh, Guru's Kripa, now does it work? Is it working? Did what the Guru said, is it not working? Finished. Measurement. So all the lower minds work. We are caught up in the lower mind's whirlpool. So, manohi dvividham proktam shuddham cha ashuddham eva cha. Ashuddham kama sankalpam, shuddham kama vivarjitam. So this is the start of Amritabindu Upanishad. We'll continue next week. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana va Prakriti Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanaayati Samarpayami Sadashivayati Samarpayami Jagadambiketi Samarpayami Sadgurunathayati Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Gurudeva.